they can continue to advance their nuclear program and get to the nuclear finish line by running up the clock, so to speak. And I think the international community should not fall into this trap.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on his way to Monday's summit with President Obama, warning the West not to get bogged down in meaningless talks with the Iranians. And it's time now for our Sunday group. Bill Kristol of the Weekly Standard, Jeff Zeleny, the New York Times national political correspondent, Kimberly Strassel from the Wall Street Journal, and Fox News political analyst Juan Williams. Well, this is a delicate meeting that we're going to have tomorrow in the Oval Office between President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Bill, how far does each man have to go? What does each man have to do to try to reassure the other that they're on the same page on Iran?
I think they're not quite on the same page on Iran, and I'm not sure that's because of the personalities of President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu. I think Israel feels Iran, this regime having nuclear weapons, or having even the capacity to break out to nuclear weapons, is an existential threat that Israel cannot live with. The U.S. point of view is, well, as long as they don't actually weaponize, we can take care of it later. That's not the Israeli point of view. And I don't know that there's much one could say to the other that would change that fundamental difference.
And to just sort of make the point about the capacity that Senator Graham was talking about, the Israelis do not have the bunker busters, all the weapons that we've got, so they would have to hit Iran at an earlier stage to take out their program than the U.S. would have to.
Right. The U.S. position is we can wait longer, and of course the U.S. has more capability, and also we'll know when the breakout is about to happen, which we didn't know in the case of Pakistan or North Korea. The Israeli position is, well, look, it'd be great if you can know, it'd be great if you can wait longer, but we're Israel, we're sitting here, this regime is committed to destroying us, and we can't live with that.
Kim, it seems to me the biggest risk here is that Obama and Netanyahu come out of this meeting with some daylight between them, some distance, and that only emboldens Iran to go further.
Well, I mean, the real problem here is that the president and his administration has spent the last couple of months undermining Israel, and that's put them in an even greater position now, because if the president is going to come out, and he seemed to have taken a more forward position this week and sounded more hawkish on this, but if the belief out there is that he is saying that solely so that he can rein in Israel, that it's not because he actually means it, the first people who are going to understand that are the Iranians themselves and the Israelis as well, and the Iranians will simply be emboldened to continue acting with more impunity. So he's somehow going to have to not just come to some sort of an agreement with Mr. Netanyahu, but he's going to have to sound like he means this, whatever he says.
Juan?
Well, I'm a little puzzled by this conversation. It seems to me that President Obama has never distanced himself from Israel. He's had trouble in terms of
settlements.
No, on the settlements, that's been American policy that we go back to the old lines. But I mean, the problem here is his relationship with Netanyahu and the kind of very strong militaristic talk that's come from Netanyahu in the past. The president said this week he doesn't bluff. And he said it's unacceptable for Iran to have nuclear weapons. And he also reiterated that he has taken risk with military action when necessary. So as he goes before AIPAC, as he goes today, and as he speaks to Netanyahu tomorrow, I think the message is, I'm working with Israel. You should not act unilaterally in a way that would endanger not only world peace, but the world economy. And that the world, in fact, looks to stand with Israel.
And Kim, the problem with that
is? The administration has actually undermined Israel, and it has leaked over the last couple of weeks that its goal is to stop Israel from engaging on Iran, and that has diminished Israel's leverage in that region. And
I don't think it's to stop Israel. I think it's to say to Israel that the United States is Israel's prime ally, the superpower in the world, and is willing to help. I think Bill Kristol makes the point, well, the U.S. can take more time because it has greater military capacity than Israel. But it's got to quiet Israel's fears that I think could, in the absence of real steps by Iran to develop nuclear weapons, lead us into a situation where the United States or Israel acts, and in fact we find that Iran has no weapons of mass destruction.
Jeff, there is also a big political component in all this. One referred to AIPAC, which is the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee. Big group, thousands of folks who are here in town, and the president is going to speak to them today. All the Republican candidates speak to them on Tuesday, and they're all, the president and the Republicans, going to say, we're the best friend of Israel.
No question. And this president has had a hard time sort of with this group of Republicans and Democratic voters who are Jewish as well, because he for several reasons, they've been skeptical of him and his administration. But I look for him today when he goes to AIPAC to speak to do more of a hard line. And I think that he has, as Juan said, that he was signaling his willingness to be tough on military issues. You know, of course, he has several things to point to that he's done over the last 3 years. So I think he'll give a tougher speech today, but he's not going to win over some of these voters at the end of the day. The rebuttal, for example, is going to come from these 3 Republican candidates, Mitt Romney, Rick Santorum, and Newt Gingrich on Tuesday morning when they speak to the group in AIPAC. So I think the politics here is not as important as the policy in the Middle East.
All right. I want to turn to Afghanistan.